Hi there and welcome to my channel. Today's project is for the Vicki Boutin Mixed Media Maker design team. And our assignment this month was to create a project that we love. And I love watercolor. One of my favorite things to do is watercolor background. So I am using one of the foundation papers and prepping it with some of the yeso from the All Good Things collection. And my idea is that I want to prep this page, even though the cardstock is really thick and smooth and actually really beautiful for any medium. I want to add a little bit of yeso just to prep it because I want water to flow. I want the watercolor to flow nicely around the page. Now, I left it aside to dry for a little bit and it dries pretty quick actually. The yeso dries really quick. Now, I am using the art crayons and I'm just focusing on the warm palette. So I'm going to use these 8 colors to create my background. So I'm going to use a combination of all of them to create sort of little shadows of different colors that combine together. For this, I'm just scribbling the crayons onto my craft mat and then diluting them with a little bit of water. And that's what the water brushes are really great because you can squish the brush, which sounds really bad, but that's the way it works. And water will actually start flowing out of it, and then you can dilute your colors. Once I have the color diluted, I'm going to use a little piece of acetate just to pick up some of the color and transfer onto the paper. And then I'm going to use what Vicki refers to as kissing the acetate to the paper. And in reality, that's pretty much what you do. You're going to use the acetate just to transfer the color and kind of wobble the acetate a little bit. You're going to see it's like you're moving it around. And one of the things that I like about creating watercolor backgrounds is the little shadow, the little rim that creates at the edges. And for that, the acetate is really good because you can move and pull the watercolor to where you want the shadow to create. So the more you pull, let's say on the outside of the acetate of the little spot, that's when you're going to get that dark rim. And then you just move around. And as you can see right now, I use my brush just to transfer some of the color. I splattered this big blobs of watercolor, you can say, onto the paper. And then I'm just using the acetate and the brush just to move the color around. And this is where having prepped the background, it actually works really well because the yeso allows you to move the color around. If you want to have prepped the background, the color would have soaked into the paper, and it will create more buckle and it will not give you time to move the color around. Now, if you're using watercolor paper, it's a little bit different because watercolor paper, it's really good with water. It actually absorbs water, so it gives you the time to move the color around. But regular cardstock doesn't work that way. So it's better if you prep it, especially if you're using any media. I know that sometimes watercolor or any media looks nice on cardstock, like without being prepped, but a prep cardstock will go a long way, especially if you don't want buckling at the end of your process. And as you're going to see, I'm just playing around with the crayons. I'm blabbing a lot too, but I'm playing along with the crayons. And I'm not have a design in mind. All I'm doing is adding color. I want to create my background first. And this is the way that I work most of the time. I'm not going to say all the time, but most of the time when I'm creating a watercolor background. I have an idea, but then as I go along, I'm going small. I'm not adding a lot. I am even choosing to actually add very little color. I just want to see how it dries, how it reacts. I want just to have an idea of what I'm doing. And as you see right now, I'm slowly building sort of like layers. I'm leaving some areas and then working on some, because I want also some of the paint to dry a little bit. I want to have an idea of how it's drying. And you see slowly, you can see the little shadow, that dark rim is showing up. And that's what I like about watercolor, is that dark rim and then the shadow that comes out of it. And I'm going to work slowly around the page. I'm making my way. I'm rotating the page slowly. And like I said, I'm using very diluted color because I just want to sort of work on layers. And as it progresses, I'm adding more color to it. And I'm combining the colors. And you're going to see in a little bit that I'm actually use some of the art crayon and scribble onto the cardstock and then just add water just to accent some areas, to punch the color in some of the areas. For example, the yellow right now, just scribble a little bit of it. And if I see that it's too concentrated, I just bring the acetate and move the paint around. So it all depends on what you like. Now, one of the things that I'm going to suggest, and that you don't see here because it's a time lapse, is that in between colors, you let it dry a little bit. Not hours, like a minute or two. You just want the color to like set a little bit. So when you put the next color, it doesn't matter. So that way you have, even though the colors are in the same palette or scheme, they will mix. You don't want them a complete mix. You want still a little bit of definition. You won't see it. You will see it in a little bit. And I left it aside to dry for a little bit, like a good 5-10 minutes. And then I came back just to punch the colors more. And as you see right now, I'm scribbling with the crayon straight onto the cardstock. And this time around, I'm just using my finger to dab the color. The background itself is already done. All I'm doing is punching some area, adding some extra color. And that's what I'm decided to use my finger, because I don't want to over dilute the color, and I want to just add the extra color to that single area. And that's all it takes. And as you see, I'm doing that with all the colors, and the more I'm playing around with the color and the background, it's giving me an idea of how or what am I going to create with this background. And as you see, it's slowly becoming this diagonal shadow or this diagonal design on the page with little areas that are accented. And I love it. I love watercolor. Like I mentioned before, it's probably one of my favorite things to do, watercolor backgrounds. I don't have an art background, but I've always loved it. I've always loved watercolor, and these art crayons are great. To create this background, they're great. Now that I'm done, all I'm doing is I'm going to use some of the art crayons on the side. My craft mat works really great. If you don't have a craft mat, then use a little piece of acetate, just scribble on it, water it down, and that's all you're going to take. Even if you don't have that, then use a paper plate. The ones with the smooth finish work better because they have a little plastic coating, and just scribble on it, get some water, and all I'm doing is watering down and adding splatters of color on top of the respective color. I just want to add, like I mentioned before, I like the little shadow that you see, those rims of dark color, and then that gradation of color either in or out of it. So that's what I'm doing through the splatters. And that's it. And I left it aside to dry a little bit because I wanted to make sure that I was happy with the background. Now, what you're going to see me doing a little bit is that I actually bring the gold glaze. And I brought it in because I thought that the warm palette would benefit from also something shiny. And I love gold, especially like gold medium. Color shine, I'm going to say highly swept color shine, one of my favorite things to use. But the glaze actually, if you dilute it, works in the same way. And I actually tried this in a different layer and loved it. So I thought I'm going to add it here. And all I'm doing is I took very little, you don't need lots, very little of the glaze, and just add water to it until you get to like a very fluid consistency. And then just use your brush and just pick up the color and drop it onto the page. Now, if you want big splatters of like gold ink, all you have to do is grab your brush vertically and then just squish the brush. You can squish the water, or you can just squish with your fingers, and then you'll get those big thick blobs or like splatters. And then just set it aside to dry. The key here to get a flat surface and a very dry surface is to have patience and leave it aside to dry. Now, what the background is drying, I am actually still gonna start working on the embellishments for this page. For this, I am using mixed media paper, and I actually have quite a bit of this because I send doodles. So I pull one of the big sheets, and I'm gonna actually stamp a lot of the images from one of the stamp sets. I love this flower design and the butterflies, and these all come from the same set. And I decided to stamp a lot of them so I can have them for later purposes too. And I'm just gonna use the dies that come in the set just to cut the flowers. And I cut all the flowers, and I actually fussy cut the leaves. Now, I want to add color to the flowers, but I don't want a lot of color. I want very diluted color. And for this, I am going to use actually two of the brushes, the really fine one and the regular one. And all I'm doing, if you don't see it, is I'm just taking the regular brush and I'm just going to add a lot of color around it. But very diluted color. I just want a hint of color. And then I'm going to use the very fine brush, the finest brush from the collection. And I'm going to pick up the color from the art crayon. I'm not even scribbling onto the craft mat. I'm just straight going onto the crayon. And I'm just going to follow through the lines that you see in the flowers. When you stamp the image, it has these little flowers that come from the center. And I'm just going to go there with pretty much the pure color, just to give an extra shadow to the flower, just to give the hint of what color the flower is. And I'm doing this for all of them. You're gonna see, I'm gonna show you in the orange. I decided to show you two of them. And first thing I did is I just, like I said, diluted the color and just added like a very diluted watercolor wash to the flower. And then I'm using the very fine brush and I'm just picking up color and then just following the little center lines of the flower just to punch the color. And when it dries, you're gonna see that the outside actually fades a lot and the inside gives you the hint of the color. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something that will give me the hint of the color without overtaking the background. And you're gonna see, and I took a while to pretty much color every single one of the flowers and I set it aside to dry, but I'm just showing you a few. While that was drying, I started working on the picture. And since I'm using a lot of pinks and yellows, I decided that I'm gonna bring like a little bit of pink to the background of the picture. So I just layered one of the papers from the 7x10 paper pad. And then all I'm doing is I prop the picture with some foam adhesive because I wanted it off the page. And sadly, when you're creating a layout with mixed media, some of the mixed media is gonna get hidden. It is unfortunate, but you know what? It looks pretty. You want to see those little shadows, those little pop-up color behind the picture. And what I'm doing right now is I'm setting up the picture. I have an idea, and I'm setting up the picture, and I'm building clusters around it using the flowers and the leaves that I cut. And I take a picture with my phone. Just because I want to have, when I start actually gluing pieces onto the paper, I want to have an idea of how everything was set up. And all I'm doing right now is, once I glue the picture, all I'm doing right now is starting to work on those clusters, and I'm actually gluing some of the flowers straight onto the paper, and I'm choosing to prop other ones and also to glue parts of the leaves and then prop another part of the leaf. I just want to create that movement. Usually leaves come from behind flowers, so I'm choosing to glue the bottom of the leaf and then prop the tips of the leaf. And I'm just going to work around it. I'm using the phone as a guide. You don't see it. You actually see the light that I'm using to film. And sorry about the shadow. That we were having one of those days here in Toronto where there's a lot of sun and there's a lot of clouds at the same time. So I had to turn on my lights and you get in the little reflection on my phone. But like I mentioned before, all I did is I went ahead and decided to just create the clusters and play around with the images. And because you can see, you don't see a lot of color on the flowers that I created. Like I said, I just wanted a wash of color. I didn't want to overtake the background and I wanted to stand out for the background. And I'm just going to go ahead and I created two clusters on the picture. Like I said, I'm thinking of a diagonal design for this. And I'm using a little bit of the extra flowers that I had to create a cluster at the top corner of where the background watercolor was created. And I just followed the same design. And don't worry if there's some of the flowers are off the page. I'm going to trim it and it's all okay. Now, once I'm happy with what everything is located, I'm going to start embellishing. And you don't need much because you want the flowers and the background to stand out. So one of the things that I brought and I love about the All Good Things collection are the paper clips. And you see that I put one underneath the picture for now, and I'm going to add some embellishments later on. Now, the pack of enameled embellishments that come in the collection also have these little banner stickers on it. And I wanted to use one of them, but I didn't want to add more height to the layout. So I decided to take out the backing and just staple it onto the picture. Now, since I'm bringing a lot of pink and yellows onto the page, I decided to use one of the ribbons to add the pink sentiment to the paper clip that I'm sliding underneath the picture. And that's it. I'm adding also one flower just to hide the little piece of the label that is sticking out. And I'm just adding a little bit of a yellow enamel dot just to bring some of the yellow that is also in the background. After that, I'm adding a title and I'm using a combination of the foam word stickers with the alphas. I love both of them, are beautiful. If you haven't seen them, they're beautiful. The alphas are black and they're thin, but they have this white scribble on it and they're so pretty. And the foam words are awesome. There's no other way to put it. And then I'm just adding a few enamel dots just to punch some of the color all around the area. Now, I'm decided to add some sentiment to the page using the cardstock stickers from the All Good Things collection. But I chose the ones that were black that had pink and yellow writing on it. It actually happened to say magical moments and it works really well on this layout. And I just brought some of the glitter hearts from the foam word sticker sheet just to complete the gold look for the page. Now, the paperclip embellishments can also be used as embellishments, not just as paper clips. And I decided to fussy cut this big butterfly. And my idea was to put it in the bottom cluster, but it looked really busy. So I switched it to one of the little pink birds. And then, but I still wanted to add that butterfly. And I played around with where to place it. And it actually worked really well, actually, at the top cluster, as if it's moving towards the picture. And I love the way, it adds movement to the page. After that, I just added a few lines of journal about this picture. This is my mom and my daughter, and they get along really well. And when they're together, they're funny. So, you know what? It's all about that. And I was very feminine because of the picture. And I love how this came out. It did take a while to come together because I created the background and the embellishments, but this all comes from the All Good Things collection. Check it out, guys. It's beautiful. If you're into mixed media or just regular scrapbooking, this collection is a must. And I hope you like it. If you have any questions, please contact me. I would love to help you. And thank you for joining me. Take care.